Hey everyone, I hope you all are doing well and having a great Tuesday. I'm here again to talk with you about another principle of Catholic social teaching. This week we're going to be talking about the dignity of work and the rights of workers. So as usual, I'm going to start with the excerpt that the USCCB gives on a summary of this principle. It says, "The economy must serve people, not the other way around. Work is more than a way to make a living. It is a form of continuing participation in God's creation. If the dignity of work is to be protected, then the basic rights of workers must be respected. The right to productive work, to decent and fair wages, to the organization and joining of unions, to private property, and to economic initiative." So we really have to start with the church's definition of work and understanding of work in order to understand this principle. And there are a myriad of papal documents on this subject specifically, so it's clear that this topic holds great importance to the church. So I think that in modern society, our conception of work is often one of something that is burdensome, maybe exhausting, maybe something that we just simply have to do, something that's almost inherently disliked. Yet, like I mentioned before, we have to understand the church's conception of work if we're to understand this principle. And the church sees work as essential to our human dignity and part of what allows us to fulfill our vocation as human beings. So I want to share a quote with you from this book that's The Liturgy in Catholic Social Teaching, Participation in Worship and the World. And this quote says, "The church is concerned with the work of men and women because, simply stated, work is an essential component of human dignity. It is through work that humans develop an understanding of their purpose in life and of where they stand in relation to other people and to God. Good work helps to make us fully human and fully alive." So work is not simply what we do to earn a living or to fill the hours in our day. This is certainly part of what work is, and it's considered the objective dimension of work. But it's essential for us to remain grounded in the truth that there is a greater dimension of work, one that is subjective. And that comes in understanding that work is our opportunity to participate in the work of God. It's also important to note that the value of work does not come from the work being done itself, but rather the value and dignity of work comes from the fact that a human person with inherent value and dignity is doing the work. Therefore, there's dignity in all work because a human person is doing that work. There's a quote from Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. that expresses this truth. He says, "If a man is called to be a street sweeper, he should sweep streets even as Michelangelo painted, or Beethoven composed music, or Shakespeare wrote poetry. He should sweep streets so well that all hosts of heaven and earth will pause to say, 'Here lived a great street sweeper who did his job well.'" And I think we can similarly look to the lives of all of the saints to see the myriad of ways that they carried out their work, all oriented towards God and with an understanding of work as part of their vocation as human beings. We see bishops and kings, doorkeepers and parents, doctors, farmers and carpenters, and the list goes on and on. So all work has dignity because the subject of that work is a human person. This truth about the dignity of work then is the foundation for the right to work and for the rights of workers. The compendium of the social doctrine of the church gives a number of points about the rights of workers, but I just want to read an initial list of some of these rights that they give to give you an example. So it says the right to a just wage, the right to rest, the right to a working environment and to manufacturing processes which are not harmful to the worker's physical health or to their moral integrity, the right that one's personality in the workplace should be safeguarded without suffering any affront to one's conscience or personal dignity, the right to appropriate subsidies that are necessary for the subsistence of unemployed workers and their families, the right to a pension and to insurance for old age, sickness, and in case of work-related accidents, the right to Social Security connected with maternity, the right to assemble and form associations. So obviously there's a lot to unpack there and a lot more that is said about both the rights of workers and the right to work. But I don't think we have time to unpack all of those things in this video, but I do want to highlight one of the rights that was mentioned, and that is the right to rest. We live in a world that seems to idolize productivity and exhaustion and really doesn't give proper value to rest. But we see at the very beginning of Scripture the importance of rest, as in Genesis chapter 2, it says that God rested on the seventh day from all the work which he had done. If we understand that there's a dimension of work beyond simply producing and earning, but that there's a dimension of work that upholds our human dignity and is a participation in divine life, then we too must incorporate and have a right to incorporate rest and free time in a way that upholds our dignity as human beings. I know I continually need to be reminded of the gift and dignity of work, because it can be such a real temptation to lose this perspective and simply see work for the sake of production and earning. Catholic social teaching has so much more to say about the rights of workers, the right to work, the dignity of work, all of these things. And so if you're interested in learning more, I would definitely recommend reading Rerum Novarum by Pope Pius XIII or Laborum Exercens by St. Pope John Paul II. I hope this was a good introduction to the principle of the dignity of work and the rights of workers. I'll look forward to being back with you again next week to talk about another principle of Catholic social teaching. So I hope you have a wonderful week, and I will see you next time.